Disrespecting her, but expecting her to respect you is insane. Like, no, she's not going to hang on your every word when you don't even keep your word. No, she's not going to cater to you in private when you embarrass her in public. And no, she's not going to speak to the king in you when you constantly bring out the survival mode in her. It don't work like that, bruh. You see, respect is not a requirement of hers. It's a reflection of you. And there's some women that if you play games with them, they gonna show you they're the coach. But I'm not saying any woman should just be able to disrespect you. I'm saying don't disrespect yourself by making promises you don't keep and then expect that woman to keep protecting your ego. Now, it's one thing if you're meeting her emotional needs and you cherishing her and she still won't act right. But if you humiliated that woman, why would she hold you in high regard? Or maybe you didn't do something so drastic to break her trust, but even just giving her the bare minimum. Bro, you still tripping, thinking she gonna cross the ocean for you when you won't even jump over a puddle for her. Or even when you do things for her, you complain about it and act like it's such a chore, or you want her to repay you as if you did her a favor. Or you don't want to make no time for her, but then you want her to drop everything she got going on when you say so, or else she's not submissive enough. But why would a woman submit to more stress, struggle love, and subpar sex? Because there's no way you're satisfying her physically if you keep ignoring her emotionally. Like, help me understand, because as men, we claim to be the more logical ones, but the math ain't mathing. If you think you're gonna multiply her loyalty by dividing her worth, I'm telling you right now, you're wrong. Especially if she's a grown woman. She'd much rather subtract you from her life than to spend the rest of it trying to convince you that respect should be reciprocal, not unconditional. Congratulations to those of you who moved on without the apology you deserved. That disrespect was all the closure you needed. But I know it wasn't easy, because at some point you had to come to realize that waiting for closure was just leaving that door open for their excuses for what they meant to do. And realize that their silence in the face of all of the trauma that they never apologized for causing was a very loud and clear statement about how they felt about you. So at that point, there was nothing left to be said. You made the decision that your worth would not be tied to their unwillingness to see it, and that your peace didn't require their participation. The same way that if somebody breaches a contract, you don't need their signature to end that agreement, and their services are no longer needed. But I know it was tough. I know you spent nights crying yourself to sleep over that dude, but the day is coming where you're gonna wake up every day feeling like you're living a dream with the man that God has for you. And I know it wasn't easy losing the one that you loved, but it made room for the man who's going to love you. You see, while your heart was breaking, so were those false beliefs that being strong meant holding on a little bit longer. Because the strongest thing you ever did was let go. And not looking back for that apology, even though you deserved it, only accelerated your preparation for the man who deserves you. So yeah, my hat's off to you for not seeking validation of your pain from a man who didn't even value you enough to prevent it. A real one gonna come along, and he gonna replace that apology that you never got with the love that you should have from the first time you opened your heart. Promise. Bruh, if your girl is loyal, it's not because she lacks interest from others. It's because she has integrity within herself. Like, she curves dudes every single day you wouldn't even be able to compete with if she met y'all at the same time. Your only competitive advantage now is how much she has invested and how much she respects the commitment that she's made. But make no mistake, she's out here rejecting potentially better options that you don't even know about, while you out here entertaining lesser ones that you think she won't find out about. Or maybe you dumb enough to think that's gonna keep her on her toes. But if she was to open that door to the men who want her, she'll have you sliding down a wall trying to Google how to stop your chest from hurting. And I know that's confusing because you know what you put her through, and that you wouldn't tolerate it if the shoes were on the other foot. And you hear her saying how she's not happy and things need to change, but you still see her there trying to hold on while you would have jumped ship a long time ago. But brother, when she doesn't jump ship, it's not because she can't swim. It's because she has the kind of love that can weather storms. But she also has the kind of self-love that won't let her keep sinking for a man who's drilling holes in her peace. So don't think you so high caliber that once you got her hooked, your job is done. Her loyalty was never about your caliber. It was about her character. And I'm not saying she's doing you some kind of favor by being in that relationship. I'm sure her love is real. But I'm saying if you mistake her devotion to stay with you as desperation to keep you, you're gonna find out quickly. She was never just stuck, like you the best she can do. She's just sparing you the reality check that she can move on to better if you force her to. Sometimes you just gotta move on in silence, as if you never knew him. Because in reality, you never did. You knew his character that he played. You knew his acting skills. But now that you know the truth, it's time for you to close the curtains. No announcements, no long paragraph text messages, just peace. because he knew exactly what he was doing, and the proof is in the effort that he made to get away with it. You see, these pretenders, they don't just lie with their words. They also deceive with those little sweet actions, which actually hurts even more because the true intentions behind those things aren't revealed until later on when you realize he intended to manipulate you. Like, he didn't introduce you to his homeboys because he was just so proud to have you. He just wanted witnesses to the fool that he was making of you. And he told you everything you wanted to hear, not because he was intuitive, but because in trusting him, you taught him the words. And once he memorized the script, he convinced you he wrote it himself. And you see, knowing this equips you to not only tell a tree by its fruits, but also to check the roots and see if it's planted in authenticity. And the best way to see if something is real is to see if it's consistent, because counterfeit men hate consistency. That mask that they're wearing, just like any other one, is eventually going to start making them sweat and slip. So just be patient. Don't get swooned by him speaking your love language if he bites his tongue anytime that you bruise his ego. And don't get charmed by him being chivalrous if he changes up the moment that you tell him no. And it's not saying you got to go out here and be overly guarded. You can still love hard, but love smart first. Because yes, actions do speak louder than words, but patterns tell the truth. And the truth is, if you got a heart full of love, you got to be careful not to project your pure intentions onto a man who's spiritually poisonous. He'll only infect any woman who tries to love him. So don't. And don't try to save him either by explaining everything so you can let him down softly. Nah, just go and let your silence speak everything there is left to say to a man who is committed to misunderstanding you from the moment he met you. She will instantly lose interest if she sees herself trying harder than you. Like, if she planning all the dates to try and keep the spark alive, but you can't even put aside 5 seconds to text her back in a reasonable time. Or she's making every effort to understand you, but you making sure that she stays confused on where she stands with you. Or she's choosing to make you a priority while you trying to treat her like a backup plan. I'm telling you now, the clock is ticking, where all of that playing hard to get is just gonna make you easy to forget. Because a grown woman will match your energy when you're worth it, and remove her energy when you're not. Because the moment she starts feeling like she's bothering you is the same moment she's just gonna stop wanting you. And really, it's unnecessary. Like, it's a waste of time, but I get it. Because your ego gets stroked remaining attached to a woman that you know you're not ready for. So you pretend that she gotta do all of this work to come up to your level because eventually she's gonna realize you were never on hers. So you stay 1 foot in and 1 foot out so that there's no room for a man who's 10 toes down for her, who's gonna upgrade her in ways that you can't even compete with. And I know there are some women who will play that game with you, but there's another group of women out here who love themselves so much, they'd much rather just block you than to beg you to love them back. So choose carefully. Hey, don't let any man make you feel like you crazy because you finally started connecting the dots. In fact, a manipulator's definition of crazy is just a woman who caught on. So no, you're not tripping because you won't fall for his facade. And you're not being difficult because his deflections ain't enough to make you delusional. In fact, any effort to mentally belittle you is just receipts that you've blown his cover. Because the more of his character that gets exposed, the more he loses control. And that's just one of the games of a guilty conscience. It's always going to try to convince you that you being intuitive is just you being insecure. And that your truth sensors are really just your trust issues. And your accuracy about his hidden agenda is some type of attack on his character. But no matter the label he tries to put on it, it's not that he actually believes you're insane, but he wants you to doubt your sanity because he's threatened by your clarity. And this is dangerous for you because if he's successful, he'll eventually break you by first breaking your trust in your intuition, because that's what he really hates. It's your intuition that helps you see those red flags before they grow into your regrets and catches those inconsistencies before they become his confessions. And that's what helps you recognize his accusations of you as his own admissions of what he's doing wrong to you. So don't go for it. I promise you, your mind works just fine. But don't lose it over a man who's now realizing he can't keep you fooled any longer. And at the end of the day, it's still better to be the crazy chick who walked away than the cool girl who got walked all over. Bro, you can't put a good woman on hold and just expect her to be there waiting for you when you're ready. Her loyalty isn't your layaway plan. Like, at a certain age, you gotta already know what you're ready for and what you want. And if you don't, cool, but why you even bother her? Like, if you wasn't ready to invest real time and energy into building something real, You are a fool to think she's just gonna keep letting you borrow from her benefits to fund your uncertainty. I'm not saying you gotta rush into things, but there's a thin line between taking your time and taking her for granted. Like the same way she caught your eye is the same way she's gonna catch the eye of a man who will only have eyes for her. The same way you like her energy is the same way another man will who will reciprocate that energy, even if she really likes you. It's only a matter of time before she realizes if you were equally interested, she wouldn't have to keep waiting for your undivided attention. It's okay to have to get your life together, but her life shouldn't be the waiting room for your renovation project. But the truth is, you think you can just keep pressing pause on her while you keep playing the field. And I'm telling you now, a good woman will replace any man trying to keep her as a placeholder. Like, it's all fun and games to be emotionally unavailable until she's unreachable and uninterested. So you can keep thinking you're gonna spend months or even years ignoring her desire for commitment, and at some point she's gonna decide to spend the rest of her life ignoring your whole existence. Choice is yours. Nothing is sexier to an emotionally intelligent woman than a man who can swallow his pride and speak his true feelings for her. Like, if you too cool to care, you probably too immature to keep. Because when a woman is in it for the right reasons, she's always gonna find it attractive when a man can notice that her body language is different and her energy shifted and offer her space to talk about it without her having to ask. Or when he can validate her expressed concerns instead of getting defensive, dismissing them as crazy or being negative. Or when he can meet her vulnerable moments with empathy and undivided attention instead of making her feel like she's weak for being sensitive. Like, she's always gonna be more turned on by that than just the car that you drive or your salary. And it's cool if you wanna spend a bag on her, but first, spend a bag on that therapist before you even come to her, because you cannot spoil a real woman until you first healed yourself. Like, if you want to protect and provide, good, but don't just pay a bill. Protect her from feeling invisible when she's at her lowest. Provide her with reassurance when she's unsure about how you feel about her. And maybe it is overthinking, but still, that's not an attack on you or a threat to your masculinity. That's her past wounds looking for safety in the present and your chance to bridge to intimacy. And you see, that's a good thing because she's not asking you to be perfect or to buy her Birkins. But after years of being taken for granted, she needs a man who is scared to lose her, proud to have her, hold space for her feelings so she feels safe showing hers, and reminds her that his love is here to stay this time, for good. Man, if you do that, she'll never be able to get enough of you. A good woman gets turned off sexually when she's been neglected emotionally, because her body will not crave what her heart can't trust. And if she loves you, then any rejection in the bedroom is really just redirection towards the parts of her that you've been ignoring. Like, she can't feel both horny and unsure of your loyalty. And you can't spend all day treating her like an afterthought, then expect her to make you her priority after dark. And she can't find the energy to crave your touch if she's exhausted from reaching for your attention, because a woman's sexuality is connected to her security. So her body will not respond to you if her heart doesn't feel safe with you. And isn't it ironic that we want a woman that has such a high standard on access to her body that just any man can't get access to her, but then when we get her, we want to act like just any other man demanding access to her body that we haven't earned. Now, there are some girls who absolutely do not care. They'll give it up just because you look nice and you got a nice car, but this one is different, which is why you wanted her to begin with. So what turns her on is not how much money you got or how much time you spend in the gym, but rather how much space you hold for how she feels. And if you do that, well, if you stimulate her mind, she'll blow your mind. So the choice is yours. I mean, you can get mad all you want, but emotionally starving a good woman is always going to make her lose her sexual appetite for you. And it's not that her passion is gone, it's just hidden behind those walls that were built by your neglect. So if you won't break them down using consistent effort and emotional presence, don't get mad whenever she locks you out for good. She may forgive a confession, but she'll never forgive something that she had to find out on her own after being gaslit to believe that she was crazy for suspecting it from the beginning. I know that's harsh, but it also could have been avoided. Like, she asked you a simple question, but you wanted to deflect and turn it into an argument. And when she started seeing the signs, you called her insecure. Now that she's caught you in the act, you all of a sudden ready to be honest and wondering why she just won't accept your apology no matter how many times that you say sorry. Bruh, it wasn't the amount of apologies that was the problem. It was the amount of thought that went into the lies that made it even worse. You see, your betrayal wasn't just in your action. It was also in the denial to conceal those actions so they could continue if she had never found out. Matter of fact, making her doubt her sanity was actually worse than making her doubt your loyalty. Like, breaking her ability to trust you was hurtful, but breaking her ability to trust even her own perception was traumatic. And most men have been there before, trying to convince ourselves that we just lying to protect her feelings, but keep it real, bruh. You wasn't lying to protect her feelings. You was lying to protect your comfort. Because protecting her feelings would have been to stop before you even started doing things that would eventually have her feeling like her whole world is falling apart. And she's never going to forget how you made her apologize for being right about being wrong. The reality is, she may not forgive you, even after you've confessed. But if she had to expose you, she may no longer even respect you. And if it's gotten to that point, boy, you are done. Sometimes, bro, her anger ain't even anger. It's built up hurt. Because women don't just wake up angry. They slowly drown in ignored feelings until that emotion erupts. Like, she told you what she went through in the past, and you put her through it again. She defended you against every person that talked down on you. You proved them right. She rooted for you and told the world how she loved you, and you made her look like a fool because of it. But now she's the bad guy because she's not such a nice girl that you took for granted. The audacity. And I'm aware that anger can be destructive, but sometimes that's the last language left after her kindness got taken for weakness. And it's funny how all of a sudden you want to be so anti-destructive after doing all of these things that would eventually destroy her ability to trust you, herself, and anybody else that may want to love her. Like, that girl ruined her mental health to be with you a little longer. Yet you questioning her loyalty because she no longer takes your disrespect with a smile. No, the only thing you should be questioning is your character, because you took a girl that only wanted to love you, and in return you gave her a trauma that she now has to heal from. When a man is unhappy with himself, he will project that onto any woman that tries to love him. He'll literally ruin her happiness because he can't find his own. He may be attracted to her light, but then he's going to try to dim it if he's afraid to work on his own darkness. Or he may be drawn to how well she keeps herself up, but then let his insecurities push her away because he realizes he can't keep up. Or at first he may be attracted to her ambition, but then he's going to try to sabotage everything she works on because it's outpacing his complacency. And this is why it is dangerous for a woman to be the recovery girl for a broken man. If he hasn't healed, he'll use your patience as his pain medication, meaning knowingly or unknowingly, he will leverage your empathy to escape the emotional rehab that he's been avoiding. And as you look for ways to fix him, he'll find new ways to break you. So while everybody deserves a chance to heal, you gotta make sure your kind heart doesn't cause you to become a bandage for a man who's only making you bleed.